showtime.
It's showtime. And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is going to be my review of Sinners and Ryan Coogler's directing movies. He's done some really good stuff, so sit back and kind of enjoy this. As you heard in my last episode, if you listened to it, Sinners was number one at the box office, knocking off Minecraft finally, and the hordes of disrespectful little children who probably could have used a vampire attack. Oop, did I spoil Sinners for you already? No, I'm going to try not to spoil this film, and but getting 100 Rotten Tomato score probably was well earned. So I'm already going to give it 2 thumbs up already before we get into this film. So Ryan Coogler has worked with Michael B. Jordan on many projects, Black Panther, the Creed series. So he's very familiar with him, and it showed with the twins played by Michael B. Jordan, the Smokestack brothers. He played Smoke and Stack, and they are 2 polar opposites twins, obviously. So you've got the straight hardcore. He was a soldier, so he's very down, right to business, and doesn't really take a lot of grief. But he's also having to protect Stack, who is a wisecracking, very smart businessman, but he's got a little craziness in him, and they kind of balance each other off very well. And there was a very interesting scene where they're seen together, waiting for a delivery, and waiting for the guy to buy the juke thing, and they're passing each other a cigarette, and it looks seamless, like there was actually 2 Michael B. Jordans. So I give Ryan and his technical crews a lot of credit for making it look as believable as it could be. So again, you're looking at it from cinematography, thing where, hey, it looks seamless. It looks like there's 2 of them on the screen at the same time. There's actually 2 Michael B. Jordans. It's amazing how they were able to work that. So I can't wait to see kind of like a behind the scenes type thing, how they worked that out. So these 2 have a very shady past. They come back to their hometown, and in stolen trucks with stolen contraband, booze and money and so on. It was mentioned briefly that they were part of the criminal underworld, and that's why they escaped to Chicago and wound up working for Al Capone. And subsequently, when they came back home to get away from that life, they probably stole it from Al Capone. But that's kind of early on in the film. But early on, right away, we get the premise of this film. So at least we have a gauge right away as to know what we're going to get into. So we have Sammy, a young preacher boy, played by R&B gospel singer Miles Canton. So he is walking into his father's church. Um, he is bloodied, scratched up, and he's holding the a broken guitar, um, and and his father is like, "You need to be forgiven for your sins, and do you repent, and this, that, and the other, let the Lord in," and so on. So that's how it starts. So then voiceover says that once every generation there's a singer, and this so happened to be um, Samuel, who had the voice to um, you know merge um, merged the course of music across the globe, across generations, past and future. But with that sole purpose, it could also summon the bad souls, which um, comes into play um, as we go along. So the Stack brothers are back walking around the town. They are looking to, some familiar faces to kind of help them out because they want to start a juke joint, basically just a place where they can sing and dance and gamble and so on, just um, you know for them to make money. So they go around the town, uh, speak to some old people. Haley Steinfeld plays Mary. She is um, Stack's ex, um, I think, fiance, because she said she was waiting for him to come back, and he never did. And she wants to know why. And he's kind of like, "Look, I don't have time for this. We're trying to get things together," and so on. Um, Sammy steps in to kind of like give him a little uh, support and so on. And then again, they start um, recruiting, people. You've got, all their best friends and so on, and they're going to pay handsomely because they are flashing money all around. And again, we kind of know that they stole it from Capone, so they got plenty of money. They wind up going to this um, old abandoned, looks like a farmhouse or a barn, and it was actually an old slaughterhouse. We come to find out later, um, and um, a white guy, shows up with the deed to the place, shows them around. They're like, you know, is there any clan around here? And he was like, no, there's no clan. So they buy the place outright, big wad of big bag of cash, and they go from there. So they're getting everything ready and so on. They recruit Sammy to come and play at the juke joint. So as the music's going along, they made him a makeshift a guitar. But we come to find out later on that it was another blues musician's guitar that they stole and gave it to Sammy when he was younger. So Sammy starts to play, and then we get a cuts away to um, a man kind of burning in a field, running toward a house, clan members, being chased by Indians, and so he's hiding in there. But little did they know, and the Indian chief did warn them that he is not who he seemed to be. So this is where we get the vampires. So while Sammy's music is playing, this demon soul or vampire soul winds up, making its way in. So think 1932 is the time frame. So again, if we didn't know the premise at the beginning, it would kind of feel out of place. Like, okay, why do we have a vampire just randomly showing up? Uh, and little did we know until he started singing and dancing himself, he was an Irish vampire, played by Jake O'Connell. He played Remnick. So Remick is now fixated on finding out the source of the music from Sammy. And so he recruits the two people that housed him in the house, and they go walking off toward the juke joint. So the juke joint is getting loud and crazy, and you got gambling, and you've got food, and it's a wild time. Sammy is playing with you know a couple of the other acts on there, and then they want him to do a solo. And this is like where a lot of people really loved this mix of old and new music. So again, his music was so transcendent. It had a little bit of a flashback, and then it had cultural history from the generations to come. So we see a progression of 40s music people, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and then into the present day. And it's just a wild sequence of just being in the moment, and music and singing, dancing, and just it's just kind of a unbelievable mix, and it makes it work. So while that's going on, Remick and his two new recruits, um, they look pretty good for being dead. But they cleaned up well, and so they acted. So the two recruits acted very much like him. They are one conscience at this point. So, he was like, "Oh, we want to come in and um, join your party," and they were told, "No, it's not for your kind." By by Smoke, and they were like, "Well, I mean, if you want to change your mind, we've got money, and we want to spend our money. We want to be able to just play for you folks." And Smoke is very hesitant about it. Stack is kind of like, maybe we should. They got money, but Smoke is very, very cautious. So they start to, sing and walk away, but there's just something about them that does not make a lot of sense to Smoke and a couple of the others in there. So they're kind of like, okay, they shouldn't bother. And then, they're like, well, are they alone, or they got more people? Because they said they walked, and there's no houses for miles. So, um, they kind of worried about that, but they kept going. And then there was a scene in there that um, took me by surprise a little bit. And it was Preacher Boy uh, having some intimate time with Paraline. That was her name. Um, it was quite an interesting scene. So I'm not going to spoil that one for you, but um, definitely when you see it, you'll be like, "Dang, that is pretty fascinating." So anyway, they Mary is there now, and she is talking to Smoke about not having. She knows that they are doing this juke thing because they need the money. They stole what they could. They were able to get enough out away from Capone to be able to sustain some things, but they needed money. So she was like, well, if they've got money, we should probably think about bringing them in and letting them just, blow their money on us. We're going to need money because your juke joint is only bringing in the lesser of, you know, the lesser, you know, half of the people because they can't afford as much as maybe, the rich white people or so on. So she said, well, let me go out and talk to them because if I can catch them before they disappear to wherever they are. So she goes outside and she gets a weird vibe. And then we cut away. So she comes back, but she asks for permission to come in, which takes a guy by the name of Cornbread by surprise because she had just left and had no problem coming back in. But for some reason, they weren't able to go in on their own. They had to ask for permission. And this comes in a little later on as well, as things get wild. So she goes in, she finds Stack, and it's like, I want to talk to you, and then starts hitting on him. And takes him into the side room, and he's like, well, I don't think we should be doing this right now. I got a lot of things going on, and she's like, no, it's fine. Let's, I want you, blah blah blah. So, but at this time, we already know that she's probably been bitten and turned into a vampire. So, Smoke is made aware that Mary's back, but acting weird. Um, and so he asks um, Sammy to go and look for Stack, and he hears Stack and Mary in the room. Says, "I think he's busy right now," and um, Smoke goes, "No, I need him here. Let's go." So they go back. Actually, Smoke goes back. When they open the door, she is biting him, and he is gushing blood everywhere. And so Mary gets up, looks at them, and Smoke just, shoots her over and over and over again. She falls to the ground, but she gets back up. And she's like, you are all going to die for this. And she runs out of the building and goes back outside with Remick and his two others. So Smoke now has to deal with the fact that Stack is dead. Or is he? So they lock him in the room. And he wants Sammy to stay and watch over him in case anything happens to him. And you're like, okay, well, I think he's dead. Because, he couldn't be a vampire now, could he? Because she kind of really did a number on him, whereas Remick didn't do a lot to the other two because they didn't show signs of being bitten. So Cornbread disappears from the thing. He's going outside to go to the bathroom, and he's attacked. So one by one, as people are going outside, they're getting attacked and killed off. Or actually being turned into vampires. And then finally Stack gets up, from inside the room, banging on the door, playing at Smoke's emotions because Smoke wants to open the door and let his brother out. But everybody's saying, no, it's not your brother anymore. And Remick had a way to know the ins and outs of his victim, basically. So they all, again, have the same conscience. So they all know all the other weaknesses. They know, so they play on this. So eventually, uh, Stack breaks out, runs outside. So now you know, you've got your vampires all heading outside the building. So Smoke has a brilliant idea to send everybody home. And of course, that doesn't work out very well either because they all disappear. And then they all come back as vampires. And Remick does a Irish um, song and dance with them. They all sound in rhythm. It's so crazy that you know his power was so great that everyone could be on the same page, and it was just crazy. So there's survivors left. Um, there is an Asian woman whose husband went out to try to get the car. He comes back to the door, but they all know it's not him. He's a vampire. But he plays on her emotions, talking about their daughter and so on. And all he wants for her to do is step outside to see her again. But she knows if she does that, she's going to die and then come back as a vampire. So she starts building Moby cocktails and so on. And then Remick talks about, going and killing her daughter. And she starts yelling, I let you in, I let you in. Which then ensues all the vampires start coming in, and the survivors now are trying to survive. And it's wild. It is absolutely wild. Eventually, Smoke and Stack have a wrestling match for supremacy. Stack is trying to convince Smoke to let him bite him so that he can join him again and live kind of rent free in everyone's head, and just feel loved and appreciated, because that was what Remick was trying to do, and eventually spread it out to the town. So Smoke finally gets the upper hand on Stack and um, has a wooden stake, but we don't see him quite use it, and this becomes very key at the very end. But Smoke walks away from it. Stack is laying on the ground, so we presume that he winds up killing him. So Smoke now has the job of protecting Sammy. He has to get Sammy out of there. They have to figure out a way to um, to kill Remick, and subsequently, if he does, everybody else is going to die. But at this point, Smoke knows that if one of them lives, everybody could be in trouble. Remick chases down Remy, and um, you know is about to kill him and turn him into a vampire, which would ultimately leave Remick um, on the earth. But he was struck by the guitar to the head, which winds up killing him and everyone else. And then as the sunset comes up, they all get wiped out because vampires can't be on the sun. So, they all burn to death. Crazy. Just a crazy movie. But it's not the end of the movie. So I'm going to go back to Smoke. Smoke goes and visits his, I want to say his wife. We don't really know what their connection is other than they had a child together that um, was very young when he died. I, I would say he was an infant when he died. We're not too sure. Um, she is kind of voodoo priestess a little bit. She's got magical healing powers, but she wasn't able to save their kid. Um, so he now knows that, obviously she's gone now. She was part of the juke thing, but she winds up dying. So now he knows that at least she is with their little baby up in heaven. Remek, before he died, mentions to Smoke that he should become one of them. And the reason why was because in the morning, the man who he bought the slaughterhouse from is coming back with the clan to kill whoever's left here. And Smoke is like, thanks for the heads up, but I'm not joining you. And pretty much lets him die. So he tells Sammy to head back home and he would see him later. He had some unfinished business to do. So this is where we see Sammy at the beginning. He's driving home, winds up going to his father, who is the preacher running a service, and he has to repent. He is still holding the broken end of the guitar handle. Um, we see him standing in front of his father and then refusing to repent and jumping in his car and taking off. Meanwhile, we go back to the slaughterhouse and we see the Klansmen show up looking for Smoke and Stack and whoever's left. And they're starting to get gunned down because Smoke set a trap for them. He had guns smuggled in one of the trucks. He set up a plan of attack and killed every single one of them. But in the process, he was shot. So he now has a choice to live or die himself. But there's a nice little scene where he gets to see his son again. He hadn't seen him since obviously his death, so on. And if he just lets go, that they would be reunited. So it's really powerful in that regard. If you could see that, would you want to come back uh, to life and continue on and know that they're there? Or, when you have nothing left, Stack is gone, everything kind of is gone, and you kind of had such a, crazy life and so on, would you just take the out like he did and, let go? So again, it's very, very powerful. As the credits start rolling, we see present day. So we see Sammy as an old man, and he's got the scars still from his encounter that night. So again, this film has a lot of rich kind of history with with that whole African American side of things, where um, you know Ryan mentioned that this was a film that he had personal history with his family members, talking about how it was growing up back then, and how they knew about bootlegging, and um, how you know how things were, how you know how African Americans had very little business opportunities. And so you kind of see that all in there. And he does just a masterful job of putting it all together. Um, so again, really good film. Um, some of the sequences of action, amazing. But the character development in this film, with Sammy and even Remick for that matter, um, is really good. Obviously, Smoke and Stack have um, their own character development in this, where um, they kind of swap out places at times, but it's still Stack being, the crazy business guy, and you've got Smoke being the, I want this done this way, I want this, that, the straight, and it's really, really good. So definitely two thumbs up. Um, Again, Ryan Coogler has done some amazing films. The first and I think only Marvel movie to reach 96% Rotten Tomatoes with Black Panther. Um, I was not. Um, I liked Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, but um, I think I think it could have been better. Um, and we'll see what Black Panther 3 comes with Denzel. And I think his last film, they said. So this should be pretty good. But Ryan, after Black Panther, did not want to recast Black Panther um, out of respect for Chadwick Boseman, who had died of cancer. Um, that hit him very hard, um, and that's why I think a little bit of struggle with Wakanda Forever. Um, and then obviously now they've got a different direction, um, and with the you know with the um, multiverse coming to an end, maybe just maybe we see another different Black Panther, maybe Killmonger. I mean, everybody else is changing uh, with this Doomsday coming, so who knows? And then obviously the Creed series, um, Creed One, where we've got that crossover with Rocky Balboa and Stallone, basically saying to Michael B. Jordan, "Here, take the franchise. Rocky's run his course. Now, bring it forward." Creed 2 was pretty good. They got they got that funny viral video of him getting knocked out um, by a top prize fighter who played Ivan Drago in that film. Uh, Ivan Drago's son in that film. Um, that viral video is everywhere. You can look it up, and Michael B. Jordan gets knocked out, and it's pretty funny. So, and then Creed 3, him and Jonathan Majors, uh, that was pretty good. And I think Michael B. Jordan has said something about doing Creed 4 and bringing back Jonathan Majors. Because, again, Jonathan Majors is getting more work. He just isn't in Marvel anymore because of all the allegations. He also did Judas and the Black Messiah, which was really good. I will forgive him for doing Space Jam, um, the new uh, the new one with LeBron and all that. We should just leave things alone sometimes. Space Jam was an originally good film with Michael Jordan. We did not need a sequel with LeBron and all the new NBA players. We just didn't need it. And it wasn't very good. But Creed, Black Panther, and now Sinners, Ryan Coogler, just incredible. Especially with the Rotten Tomato scores. Like that's good stuff. So, again, as a Marvel fan, looking forward to Black Panther 3 when eventually that gets greenlighted. Obviously, with Denzel Washington and Denzel's possible on the last film, that's going to be good. You know it's going to be good. God, I hope it's going to be good. Okay. So, I know this one was just about Sinners and Ryan Coogler. I hope you did enjoy this, and look for more stuff coming. There's there's a lot more stuff I'm working on, and don't have any shout outs this time to try to get people on, even though I would love to meet Michael B. Jordan as well, and maybe have him on my podcasts somewhere down the line. Anybody want to share that to him, go right ahead. I know, again, pipe dream. Alright, that's all for now. I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.